A new variant of COVID-19 has been discovered in Botswana.
We deliberately went into a budget deficit.
How long ago was this?
Not long after COVID hit us.
Has it worked?
It has worked.
Before COVID, they had not prioritized public health enough.
I don't believe so. Our primary health system is second to none. We're global leaders.
What's the magic?
We have precious stones called diamonds.
But the diamonds won't last forever, will they?
I don't know what lasts forever. We're committed to the AfCFTA. We ought to have a single currency. Africa presents the best potential in the world for a real superpower.
I like the corrupt-free because Africa struggles a lot with that.
I dislike it as an African leader when we're labeled as inherently corrupt. My name is Mokgweetsi Masisi. I'm the President of the Republic of Botswana. Welcome, Daniel Lutaaya.
Thank you very much once again. We'll just dive right into it and talk about matters to do with economic recovery. You got COVID-19 yourself.
I did.
Welcome back from that.
Thank you.
I got COVID too. It was not easy for me. I hope it was easier for you.
No, it was not easy for me. COVID is not easy for anybody. The sad reality is, for most of our population, they genuinely thought that it was a problem that would remain in China. And it was far away. So there was little in terms of conscientious preparation of the onset of COVID and little imagination of what it actually meant. And so when it hit, and finally hit, it was a shock because we were ill prepared. Not that we could not think of what to do to prepare ourselves. We had the money, we had made the orders, the material did not come on time, and little drips came. And part of it was also that everybody was trying to understand this phenomena, pandemic. So the PPEs and the drug therapy and the methods and the systems to use and the technology was in dire short supply. We had the fortune of having enough resources to buy the vaccines by the time the vaccines were used to mitigate and help arrest the ravages of COVID. But again, despite the use of our own private resources, they also came somewhat late. But we went very strong on prevention. So we spent a lot of money on advocacy, we spent a lot of money on education and counseling, etc. And we made measures in terms of workspaces and times and systems of living to prevent. We developed isolation centers, whatever it was that the scientific community advises. But more importantly, this was guided by a presidential task force on COVID-19, chaired by myself. And we met frequently, once, twice a week sometimes, and sometimes even at night, if it needed to be so. And so we were committed to mobilizing resources away from other sectors because we just passed our budget when COVID hit us. But we came back, I had to call Parliament back after we passed our budget because it was completely undermined by COVID. And so we had to develop a new cash budget. And we developed the Economic Recovery and Transition Plan, the ERTP. And we deliberately went into a budget deficit. We availed a total budget for response to COVID of 14 billion pula, which is about 1.2 billion or so. We then proceeded to assist companies that could not pay their workers, assist households with food supplies. Then I retreated with my cabinet, a central committee in the party, and I developed and proposed to them 5 priorities as a recovery strategy. Yes. The first of which was to prevent the loss of life of any Botswana due to COVID, protect them, keep them alive. That was the first priority. The second priority was to align the government machinery to this agenda so that we shift and we focus on these priorities. The third was to develop as rapidly as possible the value chains which is the economic recovery part. The fourth was to promote and enhance the application and the innovation within the digitized systems and digital technology. So digitization became a fourth priority. The fifth priority was mindset change. And so these were embraced by both the Central Committee and Cabinet, and they became part of the government agenda.
How long ago was this, when you set up this plan? How long ago was it?
Oh, not long after COVID hit us. We probably, in early 2020, when we got this massive hit.
So that's
It's about April is when we finished our budget, and May is when we had to come back and develop a new budget.
So 2 years of that program now.
Exactly.
Has it worked, in your opinion?
It has worked in my opinion, but it's never worked completely because we're still bedeviled with the problems of COVID. But one of the things that was a result of this emphasis and refocus was that we, from our HIV experiences and technical competence, were able to merge the two required for detecting COVID and the variants as we continued to analyze. And we were the first to identify the Omicron as a result of that. And that's a big plus. We have interested an investor and are working to develop capacity to produce our own vaccines. And so we're setting about developing first the other medical products through compounding, and then we'll get to the actual vaccine, but not just COVID vaccine, other vaccines that are often ignored, malaria, Ebola, what have you. So we'll develop that capacity in Botswana. This also comes from our track record and competence in developing animal vaccines. And so we want to merge these and make sure that never again should we be caught unaware and unprepared. And because of our relations with the rest of Africa and our commitment to being efficient, we will help Africa, we will help our neighbors, we will help the world.
Just before we leave the COVID question, there was a lot of criticism with regard to leaders world over, this is not only for Africa, that before COVID, they had not prioritized public health enough. Was that the case in Botswana?
I don't believe so. You look at our budget distribution. We expend more than 20% of our budget on health. In fact, the highest allocation in my country for the longest time has been to the health sector. Our primary health system is second to none. We're global leaders in on that. Look at what we did with HIV. We were the highest burden country. And right now we have won an award for hitting a target that's never been done before, where the highest burden country has hit the UNAIDS 90 target. We are hitting it at 95, 97, 98. And so I believe that our commitment, political and otherwise, to the health sector is spot on. We can always do better because there are inefficiencies that set in, but we're focused on that.
Botswana has always been written about as one of the fastest growing economies in Africa, most certainly in the world. And I was reading that Botswana's economy, even last year, actually grew while we were, struggling with the Delta variant and all these. The economy of Botswana still grew. What's the magic?
It's not magic. It's not magic. You've got to focus on the right things. And the right things are those things in your economy that return the most. Look after them, they're precious. And we have precious stones called diamonds. Yeah. And we look after our diamonds. The governance of our diamonds, the pricing of our diamonds, the marketing of our diamonds, the return on the investment of those diamonds, and the utilization of those funds on development, on growing the economy, diversifying the economy, on people is critical. So any old person can have diamonds. They don't necessarily do what we do with our diamonds. It's not magic. It's us.
But the diamonds won't last forever, will they?
Well, diamonds won't last forever. I don't know what lasts forever, but the people will last forever. So our new diamonds, our people, particularly the young people.
Mr. President, what's the plan? for diversification of the economy, because this is an economy that has relied on diamonds.
We are committed to diversifying the economy. And that's why we have our various development plans. That's why we have our various strategies to try and reduce the reliance on diamonds. And we develop other sectors. The value chains in the agricultural sector are one case in point. Recently, and I'm talking of the last 3 years or so, we've developed the largest irrigation plantation for citrus in Southern Africa. Well, perhaps even, yes, Southern Africa or south of the equator, because it's made up of unique citrus. And recently, we have been informed by the investors, which is a more than 300 million pool investment, that the produce, all the produce, and this is going to be an orchard that is more than 1,000 hectares big. All the produce for the life of the plants has been bought from the markets that generate money in hard currency. And so the investors are looking for more land and more water, and we have an agro-industrial plan to tap water from the Zambezi and develop an irrigation scheme over there. We are diversifying our tourism product and our tourism potential. We are diversifying our mineral sector. We are developing mines which have manganese. We are developing the value chains in that and adding value internally. We are mechanizing our mines. We are developing new products as new mines in copper and nickel. And we are committed through our innovation strategy to develop an electric vehicle. And 5 of the components required for an electric vehicle, battery at least, are in Botswana. So we want to go big in the production of electric vehicle batteries and the other components. We have the best location for solar run sun rays energy generation. And so in diversifying our energy, we're going to go very big in solar. But we don't just buy the products already made. We research, we innovate, we adapt, we replace, because we want to be the generators of solutions to the world. And so I could go on and on about what we do, because we're also trying to diversify the content of our education system. We are broadening our relations internationally. So our foreign policy is enabling us to make more friends, better friends, and stronger friends. We're committed to the AfCFTA to trade with Africa. So the infrastructure required for that, we're spending money on. And these and other measures will diversify the economy and change the people. But lastly, we are investing an awful lot in taking our people to the continent, conceptually, in terms of what they understand and know, in terms of their travel and engagements in business and study, and taking them to the world. And in so doing, we would want to enable them to trade and work with others. That will diversify them.
What do you think about some people who are advising that Africa should continue with the Africa Free Trade Area, but not necessarily integrate and create a single currency? Where do you lie? What's your opinion on that?
Well, ultimately the whole objective of an integration plan is to have single platforms. That's the end logic. So yes, at some point when we have readied our systems, we ought to have a single currency. At some point when we have readied our systems, we ought to federate and eventually come together. Africa presents the best potential in the world for a real superpower. And I pray God it'll happen in my lifetime, and yours too.
And it's good to hear that you're working towards it. I want to talk about the looming global economic meltdown. That's what the experts have called it. Due to the war in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine, some experts are saying that we are in a very tough global economic time because we're trying to recover from COVID-19 and the things that you're telling me right now. But we are now struggling because of the war in Russia and Ukraine. How has that affected Botswana?
Like it has affected everybody else. Prices have gone up, fuel, commodities in short supply, and more than anything else, there is serious anxiety about peace and security and what this does to the climate and the environment. But aside the immediate of people dying, which is really sad, and a non-commitment as at yet to resolve this amicably, because that is a posture of Botswana and position of our foreign policy, that differences must be sorted out around the table. You jaw rather than war. But it will be over at some point, or the world will adapt in terms of needs. You always compensate for what you don't have with something else. And it's a wake-up call. We better produce our own food and wheat. We better get away from this heavy reliance on oil. We better find means by which we can do business and we can develop relations with others and promote the cessation of hostilities.
Global bodies like the Commonwealth, where do they lie in all of this, and how do you think that they can help small states, especially in Africa, in achieving the dreams that we all aspire to reach?
The Commonwealth has a rich potential. The Commonwealth, as you know, is born out of the traditions of those countries that were colonized by the United Kingdom and therefore have a number of commonalities, and that's why the name Commonwealth. It is in enhancing these and the efficiencies that lie therein, or the potential for those that will realize in us growing together. And so one of the things that would benefit the Commonwealth is a unity, one, and two, purposeful, closer economic and intergovernmental collaboration. One of the strengths of the Commonwealth is its commitment to developing an efficient, corrupt-free public service. And that's what needs to be enhanced even more and spread out.
I like the corrupt-free because Africa struggles a lot with that.
Well, it's a two-way thing. It's not just that Africa struggles with it. The world struggles with not corrupting Africa because the world tends to corrupt Africa. I mean, you look at many countries, what is the origin of the corruption? Because we import so much ideas and products and services. It comes with it too. So it's a two-way thing. I dislike it as an African leader when we're labeled as inherently corrupt. And we need to stand up for our own sake and call it out and stop it. So the Commonwealth presents a wonderful opportunity for commonalizing values that enhance growth.
Talk to the people of Botswana. What's your promise amid this global economic meltdown? What's your promise as a government?
My promise to the people of Botswana is consistent. I'm going to work the hardest. I pledge to be the hardest working person for them. And for them means finding opportunity for them, exploiting opportunities for them. I ask of them only that they embrace and become the hardest working citizens to yield the results out of this. We're peace-loving, we know our governance, we know our systems, we know what to do. Just do it.
All right, thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.